Hi, welcome to Kate's Kitchen. I'm Kate, and this is our guest chef, Gandalf. Gandy, can you say hello? I guess not, he's feeling a little shy. Today we're going to work on hot water bath canning some beautiful pears. We're going to do it in pear pieces in a simple syrup. The first thing you have to do in order to do this is pull out the stems and peel your pears. I find it easiest to cut off the blossom end and the stem end like that. Then I use a regular vegetable peeler to just peel the skin off. It goes real quickly. These pears are nice and ripe and ready to go. Take my knife and I make several long slices down the face of the pear. Then I take the same knife and I cut down like this, and you have pear slices. That's what we do till we get them all done, and we put them in a bowl of water that has fruit fresh or lemon juice in it. Once we get the pears all peeled, you have to make a simple syrup. This simple syrup that we're using today is 12 cups of water and 3 cups of sugar. It's a very light syrup. So what we do is we take our spider or a slotted spoon, get it over here. Drain some of that water off because we don't want it to get less sugar than we already have. And we just put it down in the water. Basically what we're going to be doing is we are going to be heating up these pears so that when they go in the bottle they'll be hot and the syrup will be hot. So when we water bath can it, the jars won't crack. Now once we get all the pears in here, we'll bring the water up to a boil, and we'll let them boil for about 6 minutes. That'll get them warmed through and be sure that the sugar has permeated into all of the pears. When that's done, I'll bring you back for the next step. Welcome back. Our pears have been simmering now for 6 minutes and they're ready to go in the jars. I turn the heat down just a little because I don't want them to overboil. Now my jars were washed and sanitized, and they've been waiting in the hot water in the canner. They've been in here on a low simmer for almost 35 minutes. So, get this. Dump the water out. I don't like dumping it down my arms, so I use my little mitt here. By the way, I have 14 of these 8-ounce jelly jars in this canner. I don't know that I'll need 14 jars, but I always try and do extras just in case. You take your canning funnel, set it in the jar, use your slotted spoon, and I always try and keep a drip saucer so I don't make a big mess on my stove or cabinets. And we just load up the jars. You want to remember to leave an inch of headspace. And we're going to have to add some of the syrup to it, so we don't want to overload it. But we do want to get a nice amount so that we won't have a bunch floating at the top and nothing but the syrup down at the bottom. Okay, now we've got those in there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our syrup in. And once we get the syrup in, we'll take our debubbling tool and we'll go down inside and we'll free up the air bubbles that are caught in the fruit. We don't want them in there when we put the lid on. Go to the next one and let's do the same thing. It doesn't take much to fill these little jars up because there's a lot of fruit in them and they're small jars, and the fruit was very wet when we put it in here since it had been soaking in this sweet syrup. Okay, now you can see that your jars are filled to this first rim on both of them. What we do now is we take a clean paper towel and dip it in some vinegar. I always keep a little bowl of vinegar right here. And we're going to wipe off the rims and the threads of the jar. And what we're doing is we're trying to be sure that there is no sugar or any kind of oils or anything like that actually on the jar to interfere with the seal. Okay. Over here waiting in warm water are our lids. They're not hot. The new rules from Ball and the manufacturers say that you are not to keep them, not to boil them like you used to. They have a new type of rubber that they use on the inside, the little red ring, and you're not supposed to do that because that can also interfere with the seal. The next thing we're going to do is place our ring. You put it on, and you turn it until it spins. And you pick it up and tighten it just about a quarter of a turn. You don't want to do it too much because you don't want to cause it to whip the juice out. But you want it tight enough that it doesn't come free. Now the final step on this section is to put them back in the water. And when you have all of your jars in the water, the level of the water should be at least 1 and preferably 2 inches above the top of the jars. Bring you back when I've got all of these pears in the bottles, in the canner, and we'll go to the next step. While you were gone, we got the rest of the jars loaded. We only got a total of 9 in this time. There were not nearly as many pears as I thought in that big pan. Also, while you were gone, Gandhi decided it was time for him to go to bed. Kept asking to go night-night. So, we have our jars in the water. We now take vinegar and put the vinegar in the water as well. And the reason you do that, or at least the reason I do that, is that we have very hard water here in this part of Texas. And if you don't put a little vinegar in there, when you pull your jars out, they're just loaded with this white crud all around the outside that's very hard to wash off. And if you just put a little splash of vinegar in there, you don't have to worry about it. So, we put the lid on. We turn the heat up all the way to high. And we're going to wait for it to come to a boil. When it comes to a boil, we will set our timer for 25 minutes. And then we'll come back. 25 minutes have passed. I've just turned off the heat. It's still bubbling in there. Now we're going to take our finished pears out of the canner. Always use the jar lifter because otherwise you can burn yourself very badly. I'm going to lift them right over here, which is a nice warm place. And it's free of draft so it can sit there and cool naturally. Now, it'll take about 24 hours for them to cool completely. And when they do, you want to pick them up and take the ring off. Then you want to lift the jar using only the lid. That checks your seal to be sure it is sealed. If you can lift the jar using the lid, your jar is sealed. And all you'll need to do is rinse it off, put a label on the top, and put it in your pantry. I hope this gives you another really good something to enjoy from your pantry. They're very easy to do, and it doesn't require a lot of special equipment. It just takes your effort and your time. I'll see you on the next video. Bye. you.